Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Duterte, the wartime president. It was a little more than a year ago when I spoke with then Mayor Duterte in Davao, laying out his vision, what he wanted to do, and what he promised to do if he became president of the Philippines. There's no surprise in any of this. I came out of that interview saying that this is a man of contradictions. A year later, take everything that he said, and it's become a reality. He's pushing it in place. Change is here. Mr. President, thank you so much for speaking with us again.
Again, thank you for your time.
You mentioned a year ago that you declare war on corruption, war against crime, drugs, and then the third is war against government bureaucracy, government ineptitude, right?
Correct.
It's been almost 7 months, 6 months into, now that you're president, what are you most proud of in the time that you...
Well, those are the three basic fundamentals that I promise to do if elected as president. In the matter of the first promise that I would maybe minimize or stamp out corruption totally. I think that we're making a progress. If you go to the airport now, it's not as disturbing and or as stressful as in the past, money from you. But those are those of the first impressions. But those small things about making follow-ups, land title nila, and that office is also famous corruption. Walang papel, walang panahon. And most of the time, in Davao City, even, nag-retire ng iba, you are not in your offices, and most of the time, worse, nasa labas, at you are into papasok pa ng mga casino, even during daytime. You do not do this under me. Do not do it. You would end up not only losing your pants, you lose the job. And maybe a total humiliation. Kasi pagka pinahiya mo, ayaw ko mapahiya kasi those are sacred things. That is a covenant between the people and the president. Ayaw ko mapahiya. So hiyain mo ako, it's either mapuntahan kita. I said, Filipinos should learn to be assertive. Huwag kayong matakot magsabi, hindi ako bibigay sa iyo. Sabi ni Duterte, now this time, may mention ka na pangalan. Noon kasi sabi ko, ayaw ko magbigay kasi wala akong pera. Pa-uto-uto kayo, and you're being oppressed. But nobody was taking notice of it. But those are small things in government activity that creates a bigger, almost hanggang malaki na. It develops something like a virulent typhoon. So these are the things, small things. Taxi drivers, yung Uber, pati yung Grab. You do it right beginning today. Or, kayo masakay, kunin yung body number. Kunin nyo because I will now require every public utility vehicle to have their yung driver IDs placed at the back of the front seat para makita ng pasahero. And you know, guys, whatever that's important, pangalan, and if you fall into mga predators, you're a prey of something, nimolestya kayo, huwag kayong pumunta sa LFTRB. Those agents and bodies have nothing to do with law and order. Well, order in the sense that there has to be order in government, but disciplining or forcing people to obey, not to commit crimes, that being criminals, you report directly to the police, and the police will have to act on it. Then we will now look for the driver, arrest him, and bring him to the station, detain him for investigation. Pagka nagkariglo, if it's a minor one, and they want to maybe kalimutan na lang, okay lang. But for yung mga rape, mga no deal ka dyan because it's a public crime. So it has to be reported and prosecuted. Now for the drivers, is short chains. The law says that hanggang every kilometer, yan lang ang patak mo. So you're only entitled, for example, from the airport to a place in Parañaque, which is very near, maybe you get to pay something like 30, 50. But if you are charged more than that, the usual counts registered sa meter, you get the number, I said, it would be easy now because I would require everybody to use it. Must do it, yan. Must do it. So he can report to the police because that is tafa. That is a crime. Swindling yan eh. Do not report to the lefty RB for revocation. That's what the second relief. The first relief is to put the guy into prison for something stupid and being... Ayoko ng opresyon eh.
But, Mr. President, these would be the concerns of a mayor, right? And essentially, this is something you've done since
Yes, in
1988.
Davao.
So how, now that you are president, what's the change from mayor surprised you? How are you changing? What are you going to do?
Well, ganito kasi, Maria. You know, I thought all the while, I was also very part. I was just mayor. But it was not really something that is terribly wrong, but miscalculated everything. Davao is a peaceful place. Walang police doon humihingi. Walang checkpoint na, if there is one, ganyan kaagad. It's either sipa, sampal, or pakulong. Behave kami doon because we respect each other's rights. The problem in this world today, including the criminals tayo, we do not respect each other's rights. Maghingi kayo, you do not bother to think that the guy, this poor guy, kung si mega, ano ba yan sa mayaman, may karapatan yan eh. Respect it. Kaya kami mga mayor noon, magpunta kami sa labas, pagdating namin, ilang dala mga asawa, ilang bagahe dyan. Wala, they're just wave by. Wave through ka sa gusto. But for this poor girl from Hong Kong also, kasabay ko, yung TV yung maliit, para sa pamilya niya. When I was mayor, she was last to, kasi she was sagling, and everybody was out. Titignan ko lang. Kaya sinabi ko sa customer, putang ina naman, Adre. Yan ba naman, I'm not quite adept with yan ba naman, anuhin mo pa yung, you scrape the barrel of yung mga ganun. So those are the things that would hurt yung mga mayaman. Igay mo lang yan ng 1,000, lusot ka. Now that's corruption. So you better stop it because as the first whip, alaman ko, millions and millions of Filipinos, very well educated, fresh from college, full of idealism, wants to work. Yung mga police, I will not have second thoughts of firing you. Maraming Pilipino na walang trabaho, naghihintay na papalit sa inyo. Let's check kayo. Asar tuloy ako sa inyo.
Mr. President, a man of contradictions again. You support the police, and then you're also willing...
Gaya nitong go out and hunt for them. Arrest them, it's still possible. But if the presentence placing your life in jeopardy or pati ikaw mamatay, putang ina mo, patayin mo na yan, papatayin ka talaga. Because most of the drug people have shrunk brains already. That is why about the 4 million now, kasi 4 million na kumpleto, I was able to get the 4 million to add to the previous number of General Santiago.
Pero iba ho yung numbers ng Dangerous Drugs Board. Dangerous Drugs Board says only 1.8 million. And then you said originally 3 million, and then it's 4 million. Where are the facts in that?
Because hindi naman lahat nare-report.
Okay.
And they do not...
Will you release those numbers?
Just board is a policy. Ganito yan eh. When we get this is the drug industry of the Philippines. Ito yung...
Can I have it?
Ito yung...
Sa akin ako.
Drug industry.
Sorry.
Yung mga dito, yung may mga ex, huwag mo nilang pansinin yan. May mga generals pa dyan. Ito ang mabigat na problema ko. There are about 6,000 policemen, barangay captains, city mayors, governors,
But Mr. President, what people are afraid of, so first is the threat, right? You're saying, and this is something you've said from a year ago, from more than a year ago, you say that drugs has the protection of the police, has the protection of government officials, and it goes all the way, and you want to rip it out. But is this all verified? Do we know?
No, because when you do intelligence, I am not unreasonable doubt. That is beyond the realm of ano na yan.
Yes, Mr.
I
President.
can fussy case. For example, ito, bilihan ko itong drug lord na ito. Bili ako ngayon. Tapos, sige, ulitin ninyo, bili ako. Tapos, bili ako ulit. Then I try to arrest you, lalaban ka pa. Talagang papatayin kita. May galit na ako sa iyo.
But, sir...
That is the prima facie.
So, the problem, though, sir, is what happens if they were wrong or somebody who didn't like them reported them to whoever made the
list? Would you believe it? I have about minus 0.00 margin of error. Yung margin of error...
I would love to get a copy of all these.
Those are what these are always miscalculations. Now, yes, remember, it's so widespread that when I got things which was not available to me when I was mayor, then I started to squeeze now. That's the visual drug industry of the Philippines.
Yes, sir.
So sabi ko, I am not going to order a police punitive action. Baryo-baryo lang tayo dito. Sabi ko, I'm declaring war. And I said, do not destroy my country. And do not destroy our young. Because I will kill you. But it doesn't mean to say, na kill you na mag-utos ako, kill the guy even if he's kneeling down with his hands tied behind his back.
Yes.
Because itong mga police, pati itong graduate, itong mga official from the PMA, mga PNPA, hindi mo mautusan ito ng illegal. Unless kung sila mismo ang nandyan.
Correct.
So, balik-balik yan. I was a professor sa Police Academy.
Yes, sir.
Di ba? Sa ano ko.
Mr. President,
it's only when it is lawful to do it.
After 21 years of Ferdinand Marcos, it took almost a decade to bring human rights back into the police and the military, right? It took that long. Now that you've opened this Pandora's box and you've essentially said, go ahead and kill. And it could be these people, but it could be innocent people. How are you going to control and make sure that the police aren't killing people who aren't killing the wrong people? Because the minute you kill, you make a mistake like that.
The police should know who is the person is arresting. So you must have at least the probable cause. The probable cause is that, is he a criminal if he is he the one who might have committed the crime? Walang police magsabi, I have to look for a proof beyond reasonable doubt. That's an impossible. We cannot move on in this world.
I understand. Okay. Intelligence
now, ang ayaw ko dyan, if you do it for personal reasons.
Okay.
Because kung police ka tapos ginawa mong ganun, may sindikato.
Kung corrupt ka.
O tapos palabas, yan ang ayaw ko. Sa Davao, maraming na disgrasya dyan. Yung ipalabas mo, yung kalaban mo na nasa druga yan, sir, intrigahan mo ako. And I have a way of checking out. This time kasi meron akong NICA, meron akong ISAP, meron akong military intelligence, may MIG ako. So if it's a report coming from the police, it goes to the army. Ang army naman goes to the police. Namang itong NICA goes to the MIG, and the MIG goes to... Then you check. If I am not, for example, the last time I was talking about it, and I said I wanted to validate 3 more times. Ang last ko, tapos hindi talaga kontento, and I said, this is the 4th time that I have validated this report. Yung local government, because they have connections, because they are there on the ground.
Yes.
Okay. Na yung sabihin mo na personal, ito, Reza, this is just my personal. This is not for everybody's consumption. You might want to hear it. Ako tatay. hirap ako sa buhay. Wala namang mayaman dito sa atin itong kwartong ito. Otherwise, hindi tayo nagtatrabaho ng ganito. Tapos, paralin ko yung anak mo dito sa Maynila. Tapos yung may barangay malayo, magsakay pa ng tricycle. Tapos, i-waylay, rape mo, patayin mo. Ako ang tatay. Anong tingin gawin mo? Ito ngayon, there is war against drugs. Tapos, alam ko in the neighborhood sino kayo. And then I remember my daughter raped and killed. What do you think will I do to you?
This is why you were
Yes,
elected. This is why you were elected,
correct.
right? People feel, you feel what they're going through, right? But violence, and you say this, violence
Violence
is
is
okay.
not strength.
Violence is
Passion
your
is
strength.
weakness.
But let me ask you, is violence, actually we talked about this a year ago, is violence necessary? You use
it is.
violence in language, you use
Yes,
violence in,
unfortunately, yes.
is it
a
necessary
violent
to
war.
lead?
There is a need because there's a war. And with that kind of problem in my hands now, I tell you, Maria, until I see the last person out of the street, until the last drug lord is killed, this campaign will continue to the very last day of my term.
Is it important that people be afraid of you? Fear.
Yes. Yan ang na-realize ko. Because if, ano naman kung Machiavelli? Alam mo kasi, bakit sa Davao? Kasi marami man, yung mag-parking. Sabi ko mag-parking dyan. Sabi ko, wala man dito ang pulis. Sa Davao. Hindi mo ka makasabi, wala man dito sa mayor. Talagang no parking yan. Kasi takot. Kasi pag nakita kita, mumunmud ko yung mukha mo doon sa no parking sign. Basahin mo uli. Standard and read it 1,000 times. No parking, no parking. Sige, tingnan nyo. Firecrackers. So, pagsabi, kay Duterte, pera ba niya itong sinusunog namin? Lapitan ko siya. May binulong ako sa kanya. May ginawa ko na hindi maganda. Kita mo. Di sunod lahat. Kung ganito sa Pilipinas, tao por tao, abutan ako ng siyam-siyam. And to think that I have only 6 years to keep up with my promises.
Yes.
No, I am a man of honor. Whether it is really bad or good for you, negative or what, I am a man of my word. Pagka sinabi ka, tumabi ka, nagpapatay kita, tumabi ka. Ngayon, pag nagkamali, sorry. Pero do not give us an inkling o magsuspitsa ako sa iyo.
But Mr. President, as president, you now also defend the Constitution. And so again, this is a contradiction from our last interview. You break the law, you threatened to break the law, you said you had killed it a year ago, right? You told me that. And yet, you now have the task of keeping the rule of law. And you said you would do that also. How do you?
Because the rule of law, there must be fear. The problem with the law is, alam mo kasi, yung batas, ay ganito, marami nang namamatay, samantalang wala namang namamatay noon. Because noon yan, nandyan, may mga general sa mga, then they have bodyguards, dalawang army, dalawang police, with arms.
It was a different order.
Sino ba naman ang gagong police na maglapit na ano? Tapos, hulihin mo. Kalabanin mo yung mayor. Tawag naman lang kanya yan. Patanggal mo to. Wala, mabawalan tayo ng buto dito. Magawa ko yan sa akin. Remember, I won almost on my own. 4 lang na gobernador ko. And to think wala akong isang barangay captain dito sa Maynila.
So what are your political debts?
None.
None. None at all?
Wala. Kasi
Earlier you mentioned you have 3, that I.B. Marcos was one of them. Do you remember? So I
it was
guess
a support.
support. So
So, nagbigay ng pera, pambili na, ang binigay niya, sabi pagdating mo, sabi, sige, magbili tayo ng ano dito, yung empanada.
yes.
Pati man, ilagay ko pa, hindi ko ang presyo niya. Kabulin ako sa Kumulik, sabihin ko sa kanila, bago pa kayo dito.
I'm just curious because there is great hope that if you do not have these political debts, that you would overturn, you would finish overturning, you would create change, right? One of the things that the business community is looking towards is the tax reform. Will you protect anyone when it
No.
comes to the new tax reform.
I must earn because I have to deliver what I promised to the people. And one thing
So-
na wala ka sa akin because, Risa, magsabi ka ng pangalan, sabihin ko kung nagtanggap ako.
Sige ho,
I,
sir.
on a shoestring budget, I won the presidency. Wala masyado akong utang na loob.
So as mayor, you immediately paid political debts. You know, you made appointments, and then if they were wrong or they were bad at what they did, you took them out immediately. Do you expect, are you planning a cabinet revamp?
At of this time, wala akong nakita. But if ang usapan namin dyan is even a small cent, no second chance tayo dito. No, zero tolerance ako. This is not ours. And because most of them are my friends.
Yes, sir.
Kaya kasama ko sa dormitoryo, kasama ko sa eskwelahan, kilala nila ako at kilala ko sila. At alam nila ang ugali ko. That is one thing ang maganda sa amin.
They're not afraid of you, or are they afraid of you?
Nung sa klase, hindi naman.
I guess, Mr. President, I'm asking if they will tell you you're wrong,
No.
right? How will you protect against your weaknesses? You are now the most powerful person. We have a super majority. You have the super majority in the legislature. You will apply of the Supreme.
Only the best and the brightest of the Filipinos. You can be very sure of that.
But you have so much power in the last 7 months. How do you protect against your own weaknesses? There's no more checks and balances.
Far in between, umabot na ako sa edad na wala na. And on all counts, very limited. Even yung, alam mo, hindi ako mahilig sa ano. You might have known me maybe longer period. Kailan mo ako nakita nagsakay ng kotse? I do not hunger for all of these things.
We've done these stories, Mr. President. Yes, you live a simple life. I guess.
Look at my house. Almost all
and Pia went with you, right?
dito napunta yan sa bahay.
Oho.
Ayaw pa maniwala. And 27 years hence, I'm still in that house. I can build a house, a beautiful house. At least makita lang kasi yung anak ko, sabi nga niya, hindi naman dilapidated, sabi ko na. You know, I have to borrow. Then if I have to work, at this time, sabi ko, I'm 72 years old. But 5 years from now, I'm out. Tapos magbayad pa ako. Sabi ko, paglaki na lang, ikaw na lang bahala. Hindi ako mahilig sa relo.
Yes.
Wala akong baril.
Again, this is part of the reason you were elected, right? Because people believe this and they've seen your life. But again, I go back to the question, if you were to make a mistake, do the people around you, are they afraid to tell you that you're wrong?
No.
Are they afraid to challenge
No,
you?
because kababata ka. Sunny Dominguez is my bata ko hanggang na may. We were neighbors until now. And we grew up together. And he calls me Dutch kasi Duterte. Paski noon pa prangkahan. Diretsong istorya.
Sige.
Ito yung mga brads ko. And look what happened sa immigration.
Yes.
I told you. Do not, huwag mo akong ano, but I know that you support me. That I know that we are fraternity brothers. That I love you. But, you know, do not. Dito sa, I cannot protect you.
And again, that's great for us. How do you balance somebody like Sunny Dominguez in mining with Gina Lopez and her policies on mining? Mining is one of those things. You're very pragmatic, right?
Gina Lopez is the secretary of the DNR. Now, you guys are doing business. There are guidelines. She's not, inordinately crazy about powers. And when she says that, she interprets the law because she is there.
Yes.
I am not the department secretary to do the interpretation for it. When she says that this is what it says here, and you are placed there to enforce the law, I have to support you.
And she's given you that list.
Yeah.
Let me ask you again on political debts. I'm curious about the man here, right? So many of your campaign donors were businessmen you grew up with in Davao who know you. You know them very well. Somebody like Sammy Uy, who contributed to your campaign, and then he went with you to Japan, and he supposedly sat in on the meeting, the one-on-one meeting with Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. One, is that true? And then two, why? And how do you draw the line between your personal political debt and the country's concerns?
So, I'm very happy with the question. Sammy Oy is one of the billionaires now of Davao.
Yes.
And to think that during their high school days, doon yung nakakasera sa amin because they are Chinese but Cebuano but of Chinese descent. Doon yan sila, classmate yan ng kapatid ko na yan, si Bo. Doon yan kumakain sila sa bahay, nagkakasera. They pay us, my mother. So, lumaki yan, nakilala ko. But he's a very, marami yan sila, but he's a very, and even the first return sa election, tignan mo. Way back in 1988, nandyan na yung pangalan, the biggest contributor.
You trust him, he trusts you.
You check it.
Yeah.
It is in the record. Okay. Makita mo, every election nandyan yung pangalan niya. Now, Maria, noon small time pa yan, mayor ako. He never had any transaction with the government. Ano ito, poultry, tapos, I'll tell you now the thing. Yung dimdi, malaki na masyado ang Mindanao White. Ang mga supplier nila sa Japan, yearly may convention yan. Japan is a democracy, and it is also pressure politics and money.
Yes.
Parang change of administration, mayroon niyang mga tao na gusto rin nila. So, yun ang naging over time, doing business with Mitsubishi, with Honda, yung ano niya, yung dimdi, makita mo yung puro refrigerators, mga puro made in Japan. He developed that contact. And whether we like it or not, he's that influential already.
But you are the president and you had a one-on-one with the prime minister.
Yeah.
And you brought Sammy Oy into that meeting.
Yes, because yung pinaka ni Abe brought, it was not me that brought Sammy Oy, by the way. You can check it out.
Okay.
He was already there. Magkasabihan sila dito pa, a week before. Magkatabi na yan sila dito. So they went together. And purely business. And at that first time, we do not talk kay Abe. Kay Prime Minister, we talk about China. And what would be the most proper thing to do under the circumstances.
Correct.
We never talk about business. Ay yung mga mining, gano'n. During the bilaterals, nandyan si Abe. Doon na. Kaming dalawa ni Abe, Prime Minister Abe, ang aming pinag-usapan is foreign policy. My drift, they noticed it, and how, and why, and that took us about 72 minutes, almost more than an hour. Kaming dalawa lang. And it has some, the greatest ally now of America is Japan.
Yes, sir.
So, a little bit, bakit naman ganun? Hindi ba natin pwede pag-usapan niya?
Got it.
Also say that, Prime Minister, I have two choices. Either I force the issue upon the province of America, so you make an issue about it, gather a consensus, or I declare a war. Alin dyan sa dalawa?
I listened to your other interviews, and you have a very pragmatic take on this, and it's a different approach, and so far it's working for, right? You are the man in charge again of all of this. So I guess in making this is all changing the geopolitical landscape in Asia, in all of Asia. Are you afraid of anything? I mean, what makes you so certain?
Minaliit lang kasi ako na they said that I said I had an experience foreign policy, foreign service. Ayaw ko anong, but talagang foreign service ako. Makita mo naman, you just look at the transcript. Diplomacy, dalawang kurso yan, consular practice and procedure, diplomatic. Alam ko lahat, pati yung, and you must, Risa, if I do not want to sound big or pull my own chair, you have to read a lot. There's always the economic review, there's always Time magazine. And you have to read many books now about Asia, the Easternization of Asia. I
Yes,
view of that.
yes.
And the 100 years marathon of America. So if you just have the patience to read also, which is also when I get hold of the book, baski ngayon, hindi ko bitawan yung hanggang but by the time I'm ready for lunch, tapos na yan. But isang hawakan lang ako sa libro. Ang akala kasi nila, ang bunganga ako ganito, akala nila na, just you just a small town guy coming in from the cold.
It was clear from our interview last year that you knew that you had some background to make up your mind about these things. And you said all of this, that you would move the Philippines away from the United States and turn it towards China. You also said, so let me take that through then. So these are deeply held views, the same way that as a candidate, you were very clear on these 3 points that you were going to declare war on, right? And you've also said that violence is an important part because fear is an important part. This is while you're a wartime president. When will that pivot to peacetime happen? Because your election also brought out all of the divisions in Philippine society, and now family against family, right? When do you begin to unite? When do you turn that huge popularity that you have and build rather than destroy?
I cannot talk to the criminals, ever. Now, political parties, you must remember that hindi ko naman minamaliit, but it was just a simple small-town PDP meron. But it used to be big. Yan ang partido ni Ninoy Aquino, PDP Laban. Yung, ang ano ko is, there are so many things which I have to correct early on. And I'm sure that I will find enemies. And not all would really appreciate what I'm doing. And I understand that because I've been in politics for 23 years. But ang ano ko is the time to mend sa political scene is quite difficult because of the personalities involved. But these are people who cannot accept defeat. And they will just nurture that feeling until the next election.
Are you talking about the Liberal Party?
Yes.
Because you've talked about the Liberal Party before, but what we've seen is that they are fragmented. They have no leader, really. I mean, there is a leader, so not to but essentially there is no opposition against you.
Well, of course, yung left, but the left.
But the left is with you.
Just to make it appear that, hey guys, we're here still. But nothing big. Ako hindi ko naman siya naman komunista. So, but I have to start with the hard ones. Okay. I have to talk to the Moro people.
Which you're doing.
Which we're doing, yeah. And we're starting in, well, of course, next week, they're going to be on a roundtable discussion already. Noor is, so I called Noor. I said, you promised to come back.
You actually brought Noor Miswari back into the national landscape.
There is no point. Matanda na nga siya, but it would be foolhardy to say that he is a spent thing. Because sabi ko nga, if Noor Miswari dies in the forest, Subukulo, or we get him out but detain him and he dies, there will never be peace in Mindanao. The Tausugs, the Sama, the Yakan, wala na.
You're also the first Philippine president to acknowledge ISIS is in the Philippines.
Yes,
you have the same intelligence groups, the same military, the same police, and yet the former administration was in denial for a long time. What made you so sure? What made you decide to say it? And, what does this mean? What's this threat?
I'm from Mindanao, and I'm a descendant of Moro. So and prangka, may mga pinsan ako na nasa kabila. Nandiyan sa MIM, ang iba balita sa ISIS. And I am and I said, if we meet in one corner, so be it.
So you know personally that ISIS is
because of, hindi importante yung sa akin yung isang batalyon na may armas. It's nothing to me. Pero kung makakuha ko ng mga apat di mga Arab, huwag na lang tayo mag-Caucasian, mga Arab, and they are there preaching, and mga scholars, they're the most dangerous.
Ideology. You're thinking ideology. This is a global problem. ISIS, the Islamic State. Have you talked about it with other global leaders?
Yes, part of our discussion. Sabi ko yung 1 hour kami. World affairs lang yun. And ako naman ayaw ko because of my roots and the fact that I come from Mindanao.
Yes.
I do not want to, and I said, my cousins are there. Well, I saw them during the burial of my cousin who died, Melvin Roa, bless his soul, last month. Tapos na yung, well, I saw them when I was young.
Yes.
Pero nagdatingan yung mga Moro, galing Lanao, they were there sa burial. So, nag-usap ko. Sana laman ko, sabi niya, yung isang, sabi ko, well, I'm sorry, but, I'm serving a republic. I am not serving a relationship. You just tell them, wala talaga akong magawa. Either we come together and understand, renew the endearments, but for you to, and I would like to also tell you now, tonight, forgive my posture.
You're tired, sir.
Yeah, the living room lang ito talk eh. The ISIS seems to be everywhere now. In summer, it was an explosion. In Midsaya, while the priest was giving his sermon about extrajudicial killing, pinaputok yung simbahan niya.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I hope it will not get out of control, but I had a conference with the top guys of the government, military. I saw them to the police. You have to not only appear strong, you have to be strong. Because this is, another problem is no joke.
Yeah.
It's you know what's happening.
Yes.
They're blasting in Kingdom Come.
So January last year, the Islamic State in Jakarta pulled off attacks, bombings in the center of Jakarta. It was incompetently done, but there's a rivalry to who can be made the IS, the Islamic State province. I mean, do you see this?
Same here.
But when you say the Midsayap bomb, that explosion is connected to ISIS,
Yes.
that has
And
intelligence.
the Davao bomb explosion.
The Davao bomb. So that connected to the Maute brothers. But I will stop being geeky because these are things I would love to talk to you more about that.
Right.
But since
I'm not ready to share information.
sige, sir.
I can use I can drop some hints of ODR because you travel maybe frequently in the areas in Mindanao. But I'm sorry, but I could not be more open, and because this is something which has to be not really top secret because they're fighting, but it's subrosa.
Yes.
You can do it in whisper something.
So can I ask you? I'll switch topics here, which has to do with you've talked about your health a lot. You said you're taking fentanyl. I mean,
Well, that
will your health get in the way of carrying?
Because I had a very bad spill when I was 68. I'm now 72. This is the result of the last one. It's very, they'll be across and I have a bad spine, C4 and 7. It used to give me headache early on sa aksidente. In a pain scale of 1 to 10, I place it about 6 noon. Sometimes 7. So it puke when it gets to be so. But over time, nahuli lang kasi ako ng pain management ito, mga doktor. Ayoko lang, I do not have this permission to. Nahuli niya ako na gumamit ako ng isang patch talaga. I was supposed to cut it into 4. Pero pag iniligay ko kasi yung buo, talagang wala akong feeling good ako. Kasi everything is all right with the world. So, just comfortable. Nung nakita niya minsan, kasi sa marka ng patch, sabi niya, ilan ang, sabi ko, yung sinabi mo, sabi niya, do not, if you lie to me, go to another doctor.
But Mr.
Yun,
President,
wala na ngayon.
well, last you were thinking that you shouldn't run for president was because of your health, and you were choosing between spending that time with your family versus.
Because I have set a standard for somebody to be president. And to the last minute, you know, and everybody knows, that I was really reluctant to run. Last minute, I just do not know how destiny really works out. But I found myself announcing that I was going to run, even if I do not have the money.
I felt in that interview you were going to run. I felt you were going to run.
Alam mo.
Oh, so a year ago also, so I'll take this forward. A year ago, you told me you would be a dictator. You were so straightforward. You said, if I win, I'm going to be a dictator. And then just this month, you said that you would want changes in the Constitution so that it's easier to declare martial law. I mean, do you have any plans? I mean, one of the things we hear all the time is about a revolutionary government.
As a lawyer, it would be really just a exercise in futility. What I'm saying, Risa, is that you have this constitutional provision. It was Lacson Ping who said that if things get worse in Mindanao, you might declare martial law. So that started the loose talks about martial law. But as a lawyer, there's really no need for it. Because martial law would burden also the innocent people who are not into the declaration. Gusto mo na niya curfew and things like that. I am not up to it, actually. So, because I can get, the way that I run things now, can you sense a little bit of dictatorship? Daroon ako mag-utos dito. When I say, kita mo magsalita, pati yung money laundering, sabi ko, putang ina kayo dyan, you better behave or
This is the impression we have of your presidency from the outside. You are very focused on the war on drugs, and you want to see that. You're very impatient. You seem to have given your cabinet secretaries marching orders to make change happen quickly, things that face the public, consumers, and they've gone ahead and done that. But at the same time, you also micromanage some small things, like the airport. Somebody will
teach a lot to the common man.
Yes.
I don't mind you milking the big ones. I might just say, okay, bigyan mo lang, gano'n lang.
So,
Sa mga mayaman, gano'n, bigyan mo lang. Sabi, mga MPA, balik-balik, sabi ko, ilan binigay mo? May 3,000. May magdagdagan mo ng, gawin mo ng 5 para hindi mo balik-balik yan. Until such time that we were able to craft. Anyway, I could not stop them with my bare hands. Neither has the military over the years really put a stop to it. It's there. It's a reality, and only because we are so stretched thin.
yes.
I only have so many soldiers to take care of the republic, every square inch of
The economy, which is what you're most
Yes,
concerned
because
about,
that is the salvation, actually.
yes. And the third quarter GDP growth rate is
Hopefully.
7.1%, quite high, right?
Hopefully.
But the peso has depreciated.
Well, it forces the market. And if the dollar goes very, very strong, because they're recovering, and only because Trump is there.
Yes.
But when Trump becomes the president, it starts to do things, you can be sure that, again, the peso will rise against. Well, that is the play of monetary. Wala, hindi ko na kaya yan.
You like
Keeping order, and if I can get to have peace with the communists, so the hinterlands, except that, again, there's another one brewing, and I say that's Maute.
the Maute group,
Yeah.
right, which is there. You like Trump.
Yes,
You
because
certainly like him better than you liked Obama. Is that correct?
hindi kasi si Obama, I like him, but he was too intellectual for the. He plays so much. Ganito Now look, sabi ko nga, you blame me with 3,000 initially. Lahat na, you lump it on my lap. I said, remember, you invaded Panama because Panama was flooding the unsafe drugs. You uprooted the president, brought him to the United States to face trial, and he's serving time. And you violated a country's sovereignty. No, ang standard kasi nila,
Yes.
sumalito kasi ako, ito ngayon, das bumama chastising me, which is really very wrong. Because this is a forum. We're in nations. If you have something against me, or your complaint is something now, then through there, have it investigated, get the results, then the body might confront me, including you. But you're not doing it with chastising that and threatening me with extrajudicial killing and sending me to the International Criminal Court. So, when I know very well that they are not even members of criminal court. So why are you, binabandera mo na, sabi ko, nagtaya ako na mataas kasi intellectually President Obama ought not be there. Sa ano siya, dapat sa Harvard, sa Yale. Ito naman si Trump, ang talagang big time boy dyan sa, parang suda, tigas-tigas. Sabi niya, pagtawag ko, oh, Mayor. Sir, is this Mayor? Yes, sir. Oh, how are you? Fine, sir. And are you coming to the United States? Sabi ko, maybe, if you invite me, but I'll take it over. Well, if you happen to be in New York or in Washington, D.C., in the area, look me up and we'll have coffee. Go, yes, sir. And I heard that you have the same mouth. That's yes, sir. That's good. You're doing right. So malilito ka ngayon. Ano ba itong Amerika? Well, you stayed there for the longest time. What is really America?
I think what we're seeing right now is the force of a leader, right? So there is a change, and America's waiting to see exactly how President Trump will change the United States. But in your mind, because President Trump is there, will you change your policy towards the United States?
No, it's about too late. No, I will not. We will remain faithful with our treaties, the defense pact, but I'm sure it would be of no use to us anymore. We would never have Third World War, Maria, or else that's the end of the world.
Yes.
So it's useless to be talking about the missiles and
No,
that's...
this is interesting again because you're very pragmatic in it. You don't want to go to war, and you want to negotiate, and you want to make sure that it is pragmatic. So
because if I get the time, I will just tell both of them and say, yeah, why don't we just talk? Anyway, it will end in a talk. So why don't you just do it earlier?
So let me ask again this. You have switched and changed things so fast that the institutions in the Philippines are catching up with you. And I guess part of the question goes back to you are such a strong force of personality, leading by personality, and that takes a toll on the institutions. How are you going to bring the institutions of the Philippines into this? Are they important?
Yes, but you know, I get this business of running the country, and it's a sacred duty. You either come to my level, but do not expect me to go down to you and understand you and rethink of what I should be doing. This is what is in my paradigm. Come up and share with me the divisions of this country. Don't get anything about delays. Alam mo, may isang business. Di ba, I opened this sa PTV 8888.
Yes.
Then you can...
Yes.
Where is this guy? He took advantage of 888. He got his title after 9 years. Sabi ko, saan yung putang, anong opisina yan? So it's Manila. Sabi ko, tawagan mo yung...
But Mr. President, that is again a mayor's job,
Yeah.
right? And as president, I wonder whether, you know, how has that changed you being president? These things will be very helpful for the public, and that's what you want.
Well, alam mo kasi, I don't know what happened really to the quality of leadership. But there are plenty. The amount in this time, meron, pero bakit na, hindi ako makaano, nakarami kong computer na bili, Maria.
Yes.
Bakit pa maghintay ng dalawa? Kaya impose this 1 month. Noon it takes you about, NEDA, 3 years.
Yes.
Until now, yung application namin for rail, wala. Sabi ko, 1 month. That's it. So they're my friends, but if you cannot comply with the 1 month limitation, I'm sorry, you go out. So ibig sabihin, hindi mo kaya. So hindi mo kaya, be kind to me and say that hindi ko kaya, para hindi ka madamay, umalis ka na lang. So in the cities, I now would require 3 days, about 3 days, business permit. O yung sa electrical. Bakit magdaan pa ng bombero? Doon ka nang punta ng electrical engineering kung magdaan ng bombero. Kasi ang bombero, pabilihan ka ng fire extinguisher. Pag hindi, upuan. So that's the said. So I would, from time to time, hindi madali putulin. Just, I will just ride on it, the changes along the way.
You agree you've overturned the power structures in the Philippines already? And now you have 2017. Now you're 6 months in. You see the extent of the problem and what you want to do. What are you going to do in 2017?
I'll continue to overhaul, make suggestions. And the only thing I wanted this thing about martial law. We have because the power says that any citizen, for that matter, can go to the Supreme Court and petition to look into the same time that provision also says that I have to go to Congress to get another 60 days. Now, you know, the president is always, kasi give and take yan dito eh. So what now happens if the findings runs counter to the resolution or findings of Congress? That would make the president now the dictator. He can always ignore Congress, and I would say, Congress, you do not fight with the Supreme Court. I will protect the Supreme Court, but Supreme Court, how about this Congress? So, take the cue from me. Di mas malala. Because it will encourage me now to a dictatorship.
Again, we go back.
Again, I said, that's basing on the conditions are there for a declaration of martial law. If there is nothing, wala. Kaya ako okay na ako sa state of lawlessness.
Last question, Mr. President, because have you made a mistake
Plenty.
in this time period as president?
Major ones, in the appointment, alam mo, kakapara-out ko lang. Under about already, so itong karamihan ng corruption is in the regulatory bodies.
Yes.
LFTRB, yung mga permits, censorship.
ERC.
Kasi they have the discretion of whether to let it go or
Following up the mistake, when you make a mistake, because you have so much power now in this country, how do we prevent mistakes? How do potential...
alam mo, ang tao sa otay, mo talaga mabasa. I mean, I cannot give you an ironclad guarantee that all of the members of the with due respect to the Supreme Court, Congress, and even the Cabinet, I cannot, for the life of me, I have no way of really even calibrating the reaction of how much, up to how many, so in reaction to the things that's happening in the country. And I'm reminded na lang of, and I always mention this, that if I were to try to read, much less answer all attacks made on me, this shop, Malacanang, might as well be closed for any other business. Kung sagutin ko lang,
Criticism is part of...
I do the very best I know how, the very
Yeah.
best I can,
Yes.
and I mean to keep doing so until the
Every
end.
president knows that, right? There's a target, a bullseye on you when you
If
become
the end brings
president.
me out all right, what is said against me won't amount to anything. But if the end brings me out wrong, 10 angels would swear if they was right, would make no difference. Still wrong. So I take solace in the words of an American. Isa sa mga idol ko. Really, Lincoln. Because, you know, he freed the slaves. Kaya ang ayaw ko dito, ito tana, kaya ako talaga galit. But on a different dimension. Assuming, just to be correct, for the sake of argument, 4 million adults, you are practically making slaves, producing slaves in my country. They are addicted to you because of the chemicals that you. Diyan ako galit. Kaya with this huge number, pagprangkahan na lang tayo, maswerte yung mga yun. Kung nahuli ko kayo ganong 1 tonelada, papatayin ko talaga. No. Bahala na kung saan kayo magreklamo. Isang tonelada. Ako na mismo.
What makes you so confident you were right? Particularly when you say killing, right? When you say you're going to kill, if you're wrong, there's no.
Well, because if you make them slaves, you rob them of the dignity as if as a human being. Ginagawa yan sa buong buhay ko. I do not oppress people, but I stand against oppression. Kaya umiinit ang ulo ko, I stand against corruption or what is fundamentally wrong. Because it's just a perception of inherently wrong or right. Alam na natin yan. But kawawa yung tao. Kaya sabi ko, even if you disregard, kalimutan mo na muna yung revised penal code about murder, kalimutan mo yung homicide, about, anong kita? In the universal law before God, because there is always a God. By what right do you have to cook shabu and destroy the life of my son or daughter? And by what right do you have to create monsters who rape my daughter? Ang ina mo, papatayin talaga kita, letse ka. Kaya dyan ako galit because I have the rage. Ang problema kasi sa iba, wala silang rage. Ako, because of me, you must remember that my father was the governor of Davao. When it was only one Davao. When my father died, it was divided into Davao del Norte, Sur Oriental, Davao Occidental, and Davao City, Combal Valley. President went into a gerrymandering, cutting up pieces for his lieutenants. So the planters had Danding had Davao, then the Rabat had their coconut in. So, ganon. So I remember that I grew up a son of a migrant father. And remember that, well, naging governor siya for a short time. But I tell you, it's really the truth. Nung nag-aral ako dito, San Beda, there was a time na pagkamatay ng tatay ko, di wala ng sweldo, wala lahat. You have to work on the retirement and many things. Ang nanay ko, maestra lang. There was time sabi niya, nak, dito ka na lang sa Ateneo de Davao. Pero pag-apply ko doon, ang Ateneo na sinabi, you have to go back to a grade, a year lower. Ibig sabihin, kung graduate ako ngayon, third year, balik muna ako pagka third year uli. Sabi ko, dito na lang ako. Nagbili ako ng kasi nasira yung, nadisgrasya ko yung, marami rin akong, there was a time na, hindi lang ako nag-ingay, from Ayala pa uwi ng City Hall, Eroseros. Nandiyan yung dormitoryo namin noon. Ang ka-roommate ko si Yasay, but he was studying UP Patipaura. Ang kaharap kong kwarto, also students at hindi taga rito, Dulay from Baguio and Bebot Belio from Isabela.
So these are, yeah.
Kakaramihan ko kasi ang walang pumupunta ng, hindi ako pumunta ng Ateneo, hindi ko nga kaya ang UP, mga bright sila dyan eh. Ateneo, hindi ako pumunta because I got out, second year ako, pinaalis ako, I was kicked out sa Ateneo. So nung pagka-college ko, nagpunta ako dito, and I was choosing the law school dito. Pumunta ako ng San Beda. Kaya ang karamihan kong kaibigan, even the cabinet, Latugani, puro Ilocano. Puro Ilocano, kasi pinay ko, Davao, Yasay, Ilonggo, pero Davao, ano na laki.
You haven't minced any words about your support for Senator Bongbong Marcos. You brought him with you
to
China.
We never allies. The entire Philippines is hearing us out. We were never allies. He was on his own. I was in my small town. So walang akong problema. But yung, kami sa College of Law, nung siya tatay sa katawan ng nanay mo, kailangan, 1 year yan, Pilipino ka na. That's why I disagreed with the Supreme Court kay Grace. Kasi one semester, sinasabi talaga, lahat ng abogado ng Pilipinas magtanong ka. You must be a citizen paglabas mo sa
I have signs, Mr. President, that it's time for us to end. Just last thought, which is leadership, right? Your last thoughts on leadership, what will guide you?
Well, I would be only guided by my passion, the residual, my passion to serve. So I sought the presidency, I got it. But I promise you that I will stick to the rules, that I will not bend it for anybody. Sinabi ko lahat pati sa pagko, do not ever entertain. And ito, I promise you now, if one of my relatives is involved in corruption sa gobyerno, I'll give you my word on it, Happy New Year. I will resign from the presidency. Pag may anak ako nasa, huwag naman yung chismis. Pag mademanda gano'n sa ombudsman, magre-resign ako. I will step down willingly and hand it to Lenny.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your time. We've been speaking with President Rodrigo Duterte here in Malacanang Palace. It is coming up on New Year's, and we're looking to a 2017 year, a great new year ahead. I'm Maria Ressa for Rappler. Thanks so much. Send your questions, Mr. President.